Key Largo chain reaction. On January 16, 2017, a sewage backup complaint brought 3 utility contractors to a private roadway in Key Largo. Elway Gray, Lewis O'Keefe, and Robert Wilson arrived that Monday morning to investigate the drainage issue. The manhole opened into a narrow trench barely wide enough to fit a single body, descending 15 feet into darkness. None of the 3 men carried gas detection equipment. Gray removed the cover and climbed down into the confined space. Within seconds, hydrogen sulfide and methane gas overcame him completely. He collapsed unconscious at the bottom. O'Keefe saw his colleague fall and immediately descended to attempt a rescue. The toxic atmosphere claimed him within minutes. Wilson, witnessing both men collapse, climbed down to save his coworkers and became the 3rd victim in seconds. A firefighter descended without proper breathing apparatus and was also affected by the deadly fumes. A second firefighter wearing self-contained breathing apparatus managed to pull his colleague to safety. All 3 contractors were pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation revealed their employer had a history of OSHA violations, including a 2002 fine settled for $1,875. A $50 gas detector could have saved all 3 lives. Trinity County repeat. On August 27, 2025, a repair crew arrived at the Westwood Shores Sewer Treatment Facility in Trinity County, Texas. A cracked line was causing sewage backup, and 3 experienced workers from 2 different companies came to fix the problem. John Nelson Sr., Bradley Reitzman, and Brad Hutton had handled similar repairs countless times. None anticipated the deadly atmosphere waiting below. Nelson descended into the manhole first to seal the damaged line. Hydrogen sulfide gas overcame him instantly. Reitzman witnessed his colleague collapse and entered the manhole to attempt a rescue. The toxic fumes claimed him within seconds. Hutton, equipped with gas detection equipment, attempted to save both men but couldn't escape before the poison took effect. He collapsed despite his safety gear. Authorities received an emergency alert at 3:52 that afternoon and immediately deployed hazmat teams. All 3 bodies were recovered by 7 that evening and pronounced dead at the scene. A brief shelter-in-place order protected nearby residents from the toxic gas. This incident tragically mirrored the 2017 Key Largo disaster almost exactly, proving that despite years of warnings and case studies, the deadly chain reaction of untrained rescue attempts in confined spaces continues to claim lives. Harris Brothers. On June 10, 2015, brothers Alan and Stephen Harris were working on a sewer issue at a residential property in Portmarnock, Dublin. Alan, 45, and Stephen, 32, worked together for a private drain cleaning company. The brothers had built their lives around their close bond and shared profession. The residential job seemed routine compared to many they had handled before. Alan descended into the sewer to address the blockage. Toxic fumes from decomposing sewage overcame him without warning. He collapsed unconscious in the confined space. Stephen saw his brother fall and made an immediate decision. He entered the pit to save Alan despite the obvious danger. The same deadly atmosphere claimed Stephen within moments. Emergency services arrived to find both men unresponsive in the sewer. Paramedics pronounced Alan dead at the scene. Responders rushed Stephen to the hospital in critical condition, but his exposure had been too severe. He died 2 days later, leaving their family to grieve 2 losses from a single preventable incident. An inquest highlighted inadequate confined space safety procedures and the complete lack of proper breathing equipment. The brothers' close bond had led directly to the fatal rescue attempt. Cell phone retrieval. On June 6, 2007, a 41-year-old man was at home in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, when his cell phone slipped from his hand. The device fell through the heavy iron grate covering a storm sewer catch basin directly in front of his house. The phone sat, visible at the bottom of the vertical shaft. He made a decision that would cost him his life. He removed the grate and reached into the narrow opening to retrieve the device. He lost his balance and fell headfirst into the shaft. His head and shoulders plunged underwater while his body became wedged in the confined space. The man weighed over 300 pounds, and the narrow opening gripped him tightly. His legs kicked desperately above ground. Neighbor Chris Van Aram saw the emergency and rushed to help. He grabbed the man's legs and pulled with all his strength, but the suction and the victim's size made movement impossible. Van Aram called for help. Firefighters arrived quickly, but it ultimately took 6 men to extract the trapped victim from the sewer. By the time they pulled him free, he had drowned. The coroner ruled the death an accidental drowning. His cell phone was recovered at the bottom of the shaft. Alarm ignored. In December 2013, Robert Geach was working alone at the Falmouth Water Treatment Works in Cornwall. The 54-year-old employee had years of experience at the facility. His shift that day included routine inspections of the sand filtration system. The facility's man-down alarm system had experienced technical issues recently, causing frequent false alerts. Robert stepped onto a hatch covering one of the filtration tanks. The safety catch mechanism was defective and gave way beneath his weight. He plunged into the water-filled tank below. Robert successfully triggered his personal man-down alarm as he struggled in the cold water. The alert reached his colleagues in the control room. Staff dismissed the alarm as another false positive due to the system's ongoing reliability problems. 90 minutes passed before anyone responded to check on Robert's status. Workers found him trapped in the filtration tank. He had drowned while waiting for help that never came. Investigators discovered the hatch mechanism was defective and maintenance had been woefully inadequate. Southwest Water was fined £1.8 million for the safety failures. The judge condemned the toxic culture that allowed such a preventable tragedy to occur. By the way, if you find this informative, I cover stories like these regularly. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more. Now back to the video. Hydrogen sulfide seas. On September 2, 2005, the luxury cruise ship Monarch of the Seas sat docked at the port of Los Angeles with approximately 3,400 crew and passengers on board. Routine maintenance was scheduled on sewage system pipes in the engine room below decks. Workers discovered a corroded and broken sewage pipe that required replacement in the confined starboard propeller shaft tunnel. Crew members began replacing the damaged pipe section connected to the ship's sewage disposal system. As the broken pipe was disturbed and removed, pressurized hydrogen sulfide gas suddenly vented from the deteriorated line. Approximately 5 gallons of raw sewage mixed with an unknown quantity of the toxic gas escaped into the tunnel's confined space. Boris Dimitrov, 47, from Bulgaria, Willie Tirol, 41, from the Philippines, and Radimilia Frane, 48, from Croatia, were working in close proximity to the venting gas. The hydrogen sulfide caused unconsciousness within seconds. All 3 men lost consciousness and died within approximately 30 seconds of exposure from the knockout agent effect. Emergency response activated immediately. 19 other crew members received non-fatal exposures and were treated for hydrogen sulfide poisoning in the ship's medical facilities and nearby hospitals. The court ruled Royal Caribbean negligent for failing to take reasonable measures to prevent exposure. The judge found the company's actions demonstrated gross indifference to crew safety. New crew and passengers boarded the ship after the incident without ever being told of the tragedy or the dangerous conditions that caused it. Russian mass casualty. On May 21, 2021, during a warm day in southern Russia, a maintenance crew arrived at a water treatment plant and pumping station near Taganrog in Dmitriadovka village. The facility provided drinking water for 350,000 people in the Rostov region, approximately 1,000 kilometers south of Moscow. Workers came to perform routine repairs on the water pipeline infrastructure that required entering confined spaces within the facility. The warm weather had caused increased accumulation of toxic gases in the sewage and water treatment systems. Methane, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and ammonia built up to dangerous concentrations. As work progressed, pressurized toxic gases unexpectedly vented or reached critical levels in the confined spaces where workers were present. Multiple workers were exposed simultaneously to the methane gas in rapid succession. The first workers overcome by gas collapsed without warning. Colleagues rushing to help were also overcome in the same deadly cascade. Emergency services arrived to find 10 to 11 workers unconscious or deceased within the facility. 8 additional workers who had been exposed to lesser concentrations of gas were hospitalized for treatment and observation. Search and rescue operations continued as authorities searched for any additional workers potentially trapped deeper within the facility. The investigative committee opened a criminal investigation into safety violations. Regional authorities' prior promises to complete pipeline reconstruction work by 2021 drew scrutiny, as experts noted warm weather significantly increases methane and toxic gas accumulation in water treatment systems. The golf ball diver. In May 2014, during the daytime, Janki Naidu visited a golf course in Durban, South Africa for recreation. While playing golf, he or a playing partner hit a ball into a water hazard, an in-course pond designed to catch errant shots. The water hazard appeared to be an ordinary recreational pond, but was actually connected to and functioned as a sewage retention and treatment area for the golf course facility. Naidu decided to retrieve the lost golf balls that he estimated might be resting at the bottom of the hazard. He entered the water and began wading deeper into the pond, planning to dive down to the bottom to search for the balls. The pond's true purpose as a sewage retention area was not disclosed to golfers who used the course. At the bottom of the pond, he encountered a dense layer of accumulated sludge composed consist of settled sewage and organic material that had built up over time. As he dove deeper into the sludge layer, he became stuck in the thick material. Either suction from the dense sludge, physical entanglement in the debris, or the density itself prevented him from freeing himself quickly. Panicked and disoriented in the murky, sewage-contaminated water, Naidu struggled to escape. The sludge held him in place, and he was unable to generate enough force or leverage to break free from the suction or entanglement. Oxygen depletion occurred rapidly. Naidu drowned in the sewage-filled hazard.
His death highlighted Durban's ongoing sewage infrastructure crisis and the dangerous contamination of recreational areas with inadequately treated sewage. If this was informative, consider subscribing so you don't miss future content. Thanks for watching.